Okay, so now delta. This is where it gets very interesting because now everything that you have learned from session high, session low, session to session inverses, session to session continuation, session inventory. Now marking out delta candle. As you can see, we are able to read every single candle seamlessly. Okay, the highs and lows do not get involved. We can read the Asia high and Asia low without any disturbance or any barriers because everything is extremely thin and transparent on the charts. So how do we predict? Okay, how do we predict? Well, not predict, but how do we know if London is gonna turn around and move? How do we know if Asia's gonna continue? All of that comes down to session inventory. So the required condition in order for us to mark out the delta candle is this. Listen up, pay attention. You're gonna need this for the rest of your life. So it's like this, okay? If Asia is to the downside and we are expecting London to turn around, we need a bullish candle with bearish delta. And that candle needs to sit inside the first low, the first high, or the breaches. If that bullish candle with bearish delta is not inside the first low, wait for the first high. If it's not inside the first high, wait for the breaches. If it's not inside the breaches, then we have a non-delta model. A delta model is when previous session is to the downside, the current session needs to rotate, so we need to find that bullish candle with bearish delta. So let's have a look at London session. London's first low sits at 9:15, 9:30. Let's open up the Atask platform. Let's zoom into 9:15 and 9:30. 9:15 and 9:30. We need a bullish candle with bearish delta. 9:15 is a bearish candle. 9:30 is a bullish candle. The delta is negative. The delta is bearish. Delta is negative. So 9:30 is the delta candle. Perfect. So there you go. Price needs to revisit the delta candle once discovery is complete. What is the discovery? So you wait for the session first low. You wait for the session first high. Then you wait for the breaches. We need 2 full breaches and then price must revisit their delta candle. Once price revisits that delta candle, it would negotiate like it did over here, 1, 2, 3, and it would take off. Let me show you some examples of it so it makes sense. Let's start with, let's start with this here. Asia up. We are expecting London to rotate, but London needs to print the delta candle. Before the delta candle is printed, London needs to print first low, first high, and it breaches. So we have the first high over here, 8, 8:15, breach 1, breach 2. We have downside, we have upside breaches pending. The upside breaches were not printed yet. However, the market printed over here, breach 1 and breach 2, upside breaches. Price returns to the delta candle, and then London pushes, New York pushes into Asia low. Asia and London multi-session inverse. Do you get this now? Okay, and I'm also going to show you how to trade the continuation, but I need you to first understand this. Let's look at Asia because we didn't mark out Asia's delta. Okay, let's look at Asia's delta. Where's Asia? Asia's over here. Oops, Asia's over here. 12 to 8. So what are the required conditions here for Asia? Let's have a look. The previous session is to the downside, which is New York. We are trading mainly Asia and London inverse. So we are mainly trading London inverse and New York to carry it for us. Really and truly. But once you get good at all of this, you can even trade New York and Asia inverse or New York and Asia continuation, and then wake up and trade the Asia and London inverse. It's like clockwork, back to back. Last week, if I show you some of the examples over here, New York to the downside, Asia prints first low, first high, delta. Price returns to the delta low, 1, 2, 3, 4, pushes. Do you see how accurate this is? Okay, this is the most accurate I've ever been in the markets. Delta, tap and run on a on a session to session basis. Let's look at some of the other examples over here. You wait for Asia to close. You wait for London to print the first high. You wait for London to print the breach 1 and breach 2. You wait for price to return to the delta, and then you go longs. London carries it, New York carries it. Are you seeing this? Clockwork. Sometimes, when you understand the session inventory sort of the things, you will see New York and Asia this was a forced raid. Upside breaches were pending, by the way. You know, the discovery is the breaches. So this was a multi-session play here, and I was looking at this play over here, where you can see there's no such thing as Asia and London inverse. There's no such thing as London and New York inverse. It's literally session to session continuation. Now, that is also easy to understand. That is also very, very easy. Okay, you are only going to understand that by looking at. Let's look at the current session. Okay, sorry, Asia, because we need to map out Asia's delta. So New York is to the downside. Asia will only, do the opposite of New York if New York has left breaches behind. Now, New York did actually. On Friday, New York prints the first low at 1345 and 1400. Two candles facing to the downside. 1, 2, 14, 14, 15. Two candles facing to the upside. The breaches to the upside are still pending. So this high here is unresolved inventory. Now, obviously, it would be... Obviously, you're not going to just see Asia open up on a Monday and just do the opposite of New York right away. There's space to print. There's sessions to print. So you can see, New York sets up Asia, Asia sets up London, and then that chain carries on. And the overall target is here, 4420. Why? Because New York unresolved inventory. New York did not print breach 1 and breach 2. So, over here, let's have a look. The required conditions, in order for price to rotate is very simple. We need delta. So, bullish candle, bearish delta. Previous session to the downside, so bullish candle, bearish delta. We need sell side liquidity. That's what I'm trying to say here. Bullish candle, bearish delta, and that candle needs to sit inside the first low. 1, 2. If it's not inside the first low, the breaches. 1, 2. Okay. If it's not inside the breaches, then the first high. 1, 2. Nothing. If it's not inside the first high, any downside breaches? No. So, check this out. We have a non-delta play here. New York and Asia is a non-delta play. So what do you see here? A continuation. Does that make sense now? Yeah. That continuation happened because Asia did not print delta. So price can't revisit that delta. You see over here, London prints delta, price breaks breach 1 and breach 2, and then comes back, revisits the delta candle, and then pushes. Asia did not print delta, so how do you expect price to return to, does that make sense? So this high remains protected. But according to the books, this high remains protected. Who's protecting it? Asia. Okay? When you understand that, it's a game changer, my friends. It's like clockwork. You don't even have to trade on a Monday. You just come back tomorrow. You wait for, just simply wait for New York and Asia to just do its thing. And then we'll look at what the current session is doing. So the current session's first low is here, 1400 and 1415. The previous session is to the upside. So we need a bearish candle with bullish delta. So let's have a look. We need a bearish candle with bullish delta. So first low, 1400 and 1415. It's a bearish candle, but it's got bearish delta. We can't use that. This is a bullish candle. We can't use that. What we can do is we can look at this candle here. First low, breach 1, 1500. Bearish candle, bullish delta. See, positive 10, perfect. So now we have buy side liquidity. So you've probably heard all of these buzzwords, liquidity, this, that. They're all buzzwords, my friend. If you want to go from here, longs, if you want to buy, you need sell side liquidity. Does that make sense? So if you look over here, yeah, and I'm going to break this down for you, so obviously it makes sense. The required condition for London was a bullish candle, bearish delta, and 930 happens to be the bullish candle with bearish delta. We have sell side liquidity. Makes sense? We have sell side, we have sellers involved here, yeah, and this is the location marker. If I go longs, press buy here, I've got sell side liquidity, and the transfer is gonna happen. Does that make sense? Yeah, that's how it works. Okay, you need the opposing liquidity in order for your trade to be executed and for you to make money. So this is how it is. Asia and London inverse. You wait for price to return to the delta and you take your trades, vice versa. Okay, now it's a whole different ballgame because now we have New York unresolved inventory, Asia unresolved inventory, London also unresolved inventory. Now it's up to New York, 3 obligations. Okay, so what I do in this case is I wait for the breaches. First low, breach 1. I wait for the other breach. I wait for upside breaches, and then I get the full picture because now I know if New York has completed all the breaches or not. Does that make sense? And this is it, my friends. You just simply rinse and repeat this. I do obviously continuous auction. You'll see over here. I post daily workings over here. And if we just go over some of the wins and losses, let's have a look. It's mind blowing to see what the success rate behind this is, especially with the whole delta stuff. 333 pips, 300 pips, 114 pips. We're looking at huge moves, by the way. Yeah, few losses because they're discovery trades, but they're part of the game. Okay, they're part of the game, and we simply aim to be the best of the best in the game. 137. Looking at 679 pips, simply off as an example here. So London delta over here, New York returns to the location and then pushes. See, 441 pips. So delta high, yeah, price returns to the delta, and then it just floods after that. 1, 2, push. 441 pips. 540 pips. Even here, let's have a look. Where is the delta? Here. See this delta, London here? New York taps it, multi-session carry. 625 pips off delta, and that's it. You see it over here? You see it time and time again. 230 pips. I mean, look, yeah, look, these are discovery trades, okay? And I'm openly showing you how it is. But the numbers game makes sense, which is 419 pips. So yeah, once you start practicing this in real time, you'll see the results. It's mind blowing. It's actually mind blowing. 300 pips. Asia, London, Delta, continuation. You see over here, I didn't trade the inverse, I traded the continuation. So you can trade it in both directions, really and truly. 200 pips. It's wild. Even recently, 370 pips, 193 pips. You know, just going absolutely parabolic on these moves. 446 pip move, 203. You know, New York Prince downside breaches for 450 pips. Huge moves, by the way. You know, when you're swinging, um, when you're holding, I mean, when you're holding significant amount of moves, um, really and truly, you know, it's the actual move. You can't really go wrong. I mean, look, holding London longs from here to here is 540 pips. As an example, you know, so 329 pips, few miniature exposures, price acceptance follows, 370. This is when I was in Sweden, just on and off the charts. 151, 140, 469. Let's look at some of the examples over here actually, and just, you know, 300 pips, 114, downside breaches, 101, downside breaches, 180 pips, 82, 210, 679, 441, 167, 540 pips, 120, 625 pips, 480. So, you know, you guys can obviously, you know, have a look. 200. It's you know what, it's mind blowing. Okay, to know the accuracy behind. I haven't really posted some of my personal trades over here, but I will continue to post my personal trades as much as I can. Some of the trades that I take, you know, you have to be here. Okay, it's hard. It's really hard to post. For example, see, when you see a push like this, it's hard to post a trade when price is over here and it wicks off, because these moves happen, you know, in just a matter of a split second. Okay, but when you understand this, yeah, and you know, when you understand the whole delta stuff, you can never go back. You can never go back, you know, and then you will, you know, drop me some feedback later on, you know. Now, I also want to start showing you guys how to read volume being picked up over here in the markets. As you can see, you know, it was quiet during Asia, and then 12 o'clock, 2K, bids and asks, and, you know, so on and so forth. But if you can just dial in, your first point of call is to master identifying first high, first low, and the breaches. Okay, first high is simply two flat, two candles with flat bodies facing to the upside. That's it. Facing to the upside. That's your first high. First low is two candles with flat bodies to the downside, facing to the downside. Okay, that's it. Each, you know, first high will have two breaches above and below. First low also needs to have two breaches above and below. Cool. And then you have to look at you have to look, yeah, you have to look at the previous session. So if the previous session, because we are trading Asia and London inverse, okay, London will most likely be a squeeze session. Okay, and New York will most likely be the delivery session. If not, you may see a London to NY inverse, and all of that's going to come from Delta. Okay, price will discovery Delta based. Sorry, the discovery Delta model is when for example here, if you go Asia down, then the discovery is to the downside. Okay, discovery to the downside because the first high, first low needs to print downside breaches. We are not we are not you don't have to really be very concerned about the upside breaches. Like for example here, we know that we need the discovery to be complete to the downside, because the moment we find the delta candle, price will come back to the delta, and then it will continue pushing higher. So if you see, for example, if you see Asia down, and then if you see London delta printed, and if you see price pushing towards these, like for example here, if you see price pushing towards Asia high, essentially what that means is that London is printing discovery inside Asia's range, okay, to then obviously pass over to New York to push lower, which is essentially going to be an Asia and London continuation. Makes sense. So you can trade, it all depends. Obviously, you have to be on point. You have to be really on point. You can't afford to slack. You can't afford to lose focus. You have to be on point. Okay. Like right now, in order for price to continue pushing lower, we need breaches above Asia high. Okay. So that's what's happening here right now. But yeah, let's move on.